Hey everybody, this is the second real life superhero debut intro with the same costume, the blue and gray actual sweatsuit with the zipper, with actual sweatpants and the other accessories that go with it. Yeah, this is the same video, only this time, once again, this time Kurt Angle's Impact Wrestling theme will be my walkout song. The intro song will once again be Nick Flicks, Something You Can Never Own. I apologize for the situation with my dog in the previous version. So yeah, other than that, the taunts and mannerisms and everything else will be the same. So with that being said, let's get started right now.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you gon' do. Well, I'ma make hella sure that I don't become you. Have no regrets, yeah, outside of my chest. I'll never forget what it's like to be in debt. Been stabbed in the back bed, I'll show you what happens. Pass me the mic and I'll show you with action. I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you could never own. I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you could never own.
I'm fed up, dismissing the competition. You're hopeless, I'm trash, they're efficient. Listen, you want a class on tradition? My one condition, forget the best of the century. Talk about the best of all time, you better mention me. Essentially, I'm the best that's ever gonna be. I hold my ground, you never take it from under me. Don't run to me, it's gonna be trouble. I hit you so many times, you see triple or double instead of one of me. I got more heart, more weight to tear you apart. I lay you down on the ground. Made it right, it's no different to me. If you tap out, cash out, or simply pass out for free. Cause you face down, really, barely alive. Cause I'm an animal inside, hear me? I'm what the game is supposed to be. Hopefully you see what I mean. Knock you out, have a scene. You were beaten by a triple team. Box you out the whole scene and clean. Alive like my dream, I shine bright. Smash you, front to back. You gon' need hindsight. In fact, when I attack, you're lucky if I need to attack. I'm prone to overkill. I work you over till I steal your motor skills. To sing whenever I'm done. You're numb, throw the thumb. Folks can't remember their name, or where they're from. And some speechless, slum, looking deaf and dumb. You're weak like 7 days. Dead afraid, I'm amazed. Don't still step up, cause I hit more men than Jenna Jameson in better days. You can't clear your heads, you with a Jenna Hayes.
Hey everybody, It's now time for my real life superhero narration, favorite and best Dragon Ball Sagas countdown. Dragon Ball Sagas countdown. Been wanting to bring back the Dragon Ball videos, reviews, and rants, and I couldn't think of a good return video, so I thought the perfect return video would be the perfect debut video for all of those videos would be my favorite and best sagas, followed by the next video my worst and most hated Dragon Ball sagas. And this list, this is my opinion the best Dragon Ball sagas, canon or not, and most of the best ones on this list are non-canon across multiple universes. So, with that being said, let me get started right now. The first saga on this list is the Dragon Ball GT saga, the Baby Saga. I think this story arc right here is single-handedly the greatest storyline, the greatest story arc in Dragon Ball history, and all of Dragon Ball, canon or not. One of the main reasons I kind of don't really like Dragon Ball, all of the canon stuff is just okay, man, and all of the non-canon stuff is like the supreme best. But it's non-canon. It's an alternate universe. An alternate sequel to the original Dragon Ball anime. But yeah, this is this had an awesome storyline, an awesome setup, an awesome conclusion, an awesome villain. Made good use of the Dragon Ball cast, and going back to villains, it featured, in my opinion, the best and greatest supervillain in Dragon Ball Baby when it comes to motivations, accomplishments, and actions throughout the series. Dragon Ball is usually weak when it comes to villains in those regards. So yes, the greatest saga of all time, the Baby Saga. Number 2, the Shadow Dragon Saga. This saga is the grand finale of GT and is much bigger than the Baby Saga. However, in my opinion, storyline wise, it wasn't as good from a writing standpoint, and also from an entertainment standpoint, it wasn't as exciting as the Baby Saga. However, when it came to action, it was way bigger than the Baby Saga because they were squaring off against a more powerful villain in Omega Shenron. I like how the bad guys were the dragons this time around, and I like how this saga tried to address the criticism of the constant spamming and overusage and reliance of the Dragon Balls, with the crappy Majin Buu saga being the worst example of that. So yes, the Shadow Dragon, the biggest fight ever in Dragon Ball, and so far, almost no fight in Dragon Ball has come close to the fight that was here. Number 3, in my opinion, is one of the worst GT sagas and one of the worst sagas, but it's a setup to the superior Shadow Dragon saga, which came after, and it's a sequel to the much superior Baby Saga, and that was Super Android 17. Yes, in my opinion, this was a crappy version of the Cell Saga, which as an adult, I don't think the Cell Saga is that good anymore. And even as a kid, I thought this was weak, but Dragon Ball was so awesome, and I like how they managed to find a way to bring one of my favorite characters, Android 17, back into the storyline. And this also did something else that no other Dragon Ball series could do, and that was make Krillin and Android 18 relevant again without shoving them down my throats, or annoy me, because these are two characters who, in my opinion, when their respective sagas were finished, they should have left the series. After Cell and Boo, especially Cell Saga, these characters should have left. These characters should have left the series, and Krillin after the Frieza saga. So yeah, and I also like how they brought back several nostalgic villains. However, there were several things they could have did that they didn't do, and there were several inconsistencies and differences from the main story. And the power levels in this saga, were even more inconsistent than in the other two sagas. So that's why it's in the third spot. But like I said, it's part of GT. It's the setup to the Shadow Dragon saga, and a sequel to the Superior Baby Saga. So that's why it's here in the number 3 spot, despite being kind of one of the worst sagas ever. Also, the action makes up for it here. 4. The most exciting and the peak of Dragon Ball. The peak of Dragon Ball's greatness. And that is the Broly, the legendary Super Saiyan anthology of films. That is the original, the supreme best Broly, the legendary Super Saiyan, non-canon, but it's the best movie to feature Broly. It was so popular, it led to 2 sequels. You had two sequels, which I thought were both weak but entertaining. First, you have Broly the Second Coming, which was okay, but this was a step down from the previous. This was a step down from the previous one. Then we had, in my opinion, one of the worst Dragon Ball Z movies ever, Bio Broly. But guess what? It's no longer the worst Dragon Ball Z movies, with movies like Resurrection F and Superhero and Battle of Gods around. And this version of the Bobby Great Saiyaman Majin Buu saga that was better than the actual Majin Buu saga. Goten, Trunks, Android 18, and even Krillin are way better here than they are in the actual canon Buu saga. Once again, non-canon stuff, even Hercule, non-canon stuff being better than the canon stuff. So yeah, Battle Broly. Then we got the final one, Super Broly. This is single-handedly the best saga. In the canon Dragon Ball Z, because it features Broly. Broly was the MVP and the massive savior of this film, which has a lot of the same problems as the other Dragon Ball films and other sagas, a lot of the same inconsistencies, but Broly is Broly. One thing this has over everything else on this list is that this is canon and in the main timeline. So yeah, this movie has a better Broly, but Broly Legendary Super Saiyan, the 1993 film, is the superior Broly movie. And Broly was like the peak of Dragon Ball. He represented cool factor in Dragon Ball. And after Broly, there was really nothing left to do. After Broly and all the stuff we saw in GT, there was kind of nothing left for Dragon Ball. Instead of intense story and complex story and character development, Dragon Ball has a can you top this, and you can only do that for so long, and they're still trying that crap today. 5. The Otherworld Tournament. In my opinion, the only good actual Dragon Ball Z saga. It's a small, short tournament filler, Otherworld Tournament filler arc. But this arc was exciting. I wish the characters like Paikon, Olibu, and the Warriors of the Dead, I wish they were in the Buu saga. More as fighters, as heroes. They would have been much better than the characters we were subjected to watching in the crappy Majin Buu saga. But the Otherworld Tournament with awesome fights like Goku and Paikon and Olibu, Goku and Paikon going to hell to fight Cell, Frieza, and the Ginyu Force, and the other tournament matches. Otherworld Tournament, great filler arc. This filler arc was better than the entire Majin Buu saga that came after, and in my opinion, better than all of the canon sagas, the Saiyan, Namek, and Cells that came before it, the greatest saga ever, but it was a filler arc. The 5. So yeah. 6 is the Dragon Ball Z animated movies 1 through 13, crossing the Broly movies off this list since I already mentioned them early. So that's Dead Zone, World's Strongest, Tree of Might, Lord Slug, Revenge and Return of Cooler, Super Android 13, BoJack Unbound, Fusion Rebirth, Legend of the Wrath of the Dragon, Wrath of the Dragon, something like that, with the Tree of Might, Lord Slug, Return of Cooler, Super Android 13, which in my opinion was terrible. I always thought this was terrible, but that form, that transformation, that Blue Mutant Super Saiyan transformation, the bad guy Super Android 13 was still one of the coolest things ever. I remember seeing the action figure of this before I saw the before I saw the actual anime movie. Saw the action figure, was waiting for it to appear in the show, but it appeared here in the movie. Super Android 13, BoJack Unbound, which was also weak, but I like the tournament art. I like the tournament arc. I like the inclusion of Trunks. I like the inclusion of Trunks, Gohan's main character role, and Yamcha and Tien are featured. Here, so that was a plus. And then you got Fusion Rebirth, which also suffered. I love Pycon's big role, and I love the appearance of the appearance of Janemba, and especially Super Saiyan Gogeta. And then you got 13, the Wrath of the Dragon. Love Gohan's big time role here. Love Tapion and his brother. Some of my all-time favorite childlike favorite DBZ characters, and still my number 4 favorite series of DBZ characters now. They were my top favorites as a teenager. Yeah, so that was number 6, the animated movies 1 through 13. Then you got 7. 7 is, you should have known this will appear on the list, Dragon Ball Evolution. My opinion, next to GT, one of the greatest things in the Dragon Ball franchise. Widely considered the worst, but one of my all-time favorite and best, and awesome adaptation and reimagining of Dragon Ball. It's right here because it is incomplete. It's incomplete. It didn't make the money. It didn't make the money it should at the box office, and it was a critical financial disaster. If it had the other 2 movies to complete the trilogy, it would actually have the number 1 spot. It would be up there with the Baby, but because it was incomplete, unlike the Dragon Ball GT sagas, it's right here. Is right here as number 7. So yeah, Dragon Ball Evolution, great reimagining and fusion of the Emperor Pilaf, King Piccolo, and the King Piccolo sagas, Piccolo and Piccolo Jr. With elements of the Saiyan saga and Easter eggs from the Android saga, and one from the Fusion saga, and that was the outfits Bulma changed into at the end, which is a live action version of future Trunks, and Goku was wearing an outfit similar to Vegito. And there's also some Dragon Ball GT, A Hero's Legacy, I think that's what it's called, Goku Jr. adaptation, and some great Saiyaman for Gohan's high school years, man. So yeah, but it's number 7 because it didn't pass the test. Number 8, Dragon Ball. Oh no! Before we get to number 8, honorable mentions now. Honorable mentions will pretty much be all the canon sagas. Numbers 1, 2, and 3 are the King Piccolo, Namek, and Imperfect Cell sagas in different orders. Number 1 is the Namek saga. I thought this was the greatest saga under Akira Toriyama, the greatest canon saga. The greatest canon saga. The gigantic race against time, the gigantic race against time, and scramble for the Dragon Balls. You have the good guys Gohan, Krillin. You have the good guys Gohan and Krillin versus the bad guys Vegeta, and Frieza, who are all the Frieza forces, all gunning for and looking for the Dragon Balls. And this entire saga spanned technically two to three arcs. Zarbon Dodoria is the Namek arc. Then you have the short-lived Ginyu arc. These, in my opinion, are superior to. Then you have the final arc, the weakest but the grand finale, the gigantic Frieza arc, the boss battle with Frieza. Number two was the turning point in Dragon Ball, and that was the King Piccolo sagas. This is when Dragon Ball got serious. This is when Dragon Ball got serious, when Piccolo came up. This had the best storyline, and some of the best fights and action in the series, and it was before the Super Saiyans. It was before the debut of the Saiyans, back when characters like Yamcha, Tien, and Chaozu and them were still main characters. Even Master Roshi, one of the series' worst characters, was useful. Useful here. Both of these and the Namek Saga, they're here in this list because of their plot holes and inconsistencies. It doesn't matter which one you choose as the best, they all lead up to the worst, which is Majin Buu and Super. 3 is the short-lived, imperfect Cell Saga of the much larger Cell and Android sagas. The short-lived perfect Cell Saga, where they stop Cell, where Cell appears for the first time and is on a mission to become perfect. And the Z Fighters and the androids do everything in their power to prevent him from becoming perfect. And since characters like Goku and Gohan, and briefly Vegeta and Trunks, are training in the hyperbolic time chambers, characters like my favorites, Android 16 and 17, my top favorites, Android 16 and 17 besides Gohan, Android 16 and 17, Piccolo, Tien Shinhan, and later Future Trunks himself, one of my other top favorites, and Vegeta, my least favorite. Vegeta, but actually all those characters before Vegeta, they are center stage. It's number 3 because of the various inconsistencies and plot holes, and the fact that they failed, and it led up to this awesome saga led right into the god awful Cell games, and the short-lived Androids portion before this was also awful too. That's why it's here in number 3, and that's why it's in the honorable mention spot. 4 is the Dragon Ball Fortune Teller Baba Saga, with my opinion underrated, cool minor supporting characters in Spike the Devilman, Bandages the Mummy, and even an appearance from Grandpa Gohan as a host, and it led to some of the best fights in the series, particularly Yamcha versus Bandages, all of them battling for the final location for the Dragon Ball because the radar is busted. Yeah. This saga will be on the list if it wasn't for, first off, it wasn't for the Majin Buu saga, which ruined everything, and if these characters who are seen here actually appeared in Dragon Ball Z. They never appear again until the Buu saga for the Spirit Bomb moment. These awesome characters that we're seeing here. Yeah, so yeah, that's why it's here in the 4th spot. The 5th spot is the Saiyan Saga. Alone. Now I usually group the Saiyan Saga with the Namek and Piccolo sagas because it's a follow-up to the Piccolo saga, and it's a prequel to the much larger Namek saga. However, on its own, number 5, it's right here in this spot. It's prime Dragon Ball Z. However, there are so many inconsistencies, there are so many plot holes, and this contradicts this saga and the Namek saga. Another reason the Namek is in the honorable mentions, it contradicts and ruins the entire Dragon Ball the entire Dragon Ball series. But this was great. This was the development of Gohan, one of the only stories here, and you have Nappa and Raditz, who were cool bad guys. Gohan, Nappa, and Raditz, in my opinion, were the MVPs. This is Vegeta's debut saga. In my opinion, he's the worst character here when you look at his actions and his accomplishments throughout this and the next saga. So yeah, that was that was 5. 6 is the crappy. 6 is the god awful Cell Game saga with only Gohan, Yamcha, Tien, and Cell himself, and the fight between Gohan, Cell, and the Z Fighters and the Cell Juniors. The only thing keeping me the only thing is keeping me watching the god awful Cell games. Then you got 7, the god awful Android saga, where the Z Fighters who all went through death matches with Frieza, the Ginyu Force, and Saiyans, mutants and characters with godlike power. Somehow androids made on Earth, a fat clownish robot, and geezer, an old man, are the threats that's going to kill off the Z Fighters. One of the worst sagas of all time. But this was Prime Dragon Ball Z, and this was still the OG team when Yamcha, Tien, and Chaozu were still Z Fighters, the OG team. I was still like Dragon Ball. They had kept storylines featuring or developing these teams, or at least gave the human killers a perfect send-off and exited from the series instead of constantly bringing them in to get washed and die and stuff. But that's why this is here in this spot. 8. 8 is the Tien Shinhan second World Martial Arts tournament. Solid storyline, great fights, especially Tien and Goku and Tien and Jackie Chan. Probably one of the greatest fights in the series. But my opinion, a sports martial. My opinion, the issue I have with the Tenshinhan Budokai is the setting. A sports combat martial arts tournament is not a place for something like this. Something like this needs to be in an international street fighting style tournament or a underground Mortal Kombat style tournament. This is misuse of power, not just the Dragon Balls. 8, but yeah, 8, the Tien Shinhan Saga. 9, the Red Ribbon Army. 9, the Red Ribbon Army Saga. 10, the World Tournament. 10, the World Tournament Saga, the weakest tournament saga of any story arc. And 11, the one that started it all, the Emperor Pilaf. And the only decent super saga to make this list is the Universal 6 Survival Tournament, where two of my favorite characters, Hit and Cabal, are introduced for the first time. So that was the 12 honorable mentions. Now we get to the main. Yeah, Super is garbage. This is one of these guys in Jiren are some of the only highlights. Oh, and Brawly, which I keep forgetting Brawly. I always call it Dragon Ball Z Super Brawly, but it's just Dragon Ball Super Brawly. Brawly is associated with the Super television series. So those are only 3 to 4 things that were ever good about Super. So yes, now we get back to the winners. Number 8 is the other live-action Dragon Ball movie, The Magic Begins, which is a much better adaptation of Dragon Ball than Dragon Ball Evolution, and an awesome adaptation of the Journey to the West Monkey Boy. This movie is phenomenal. It's a low budget version of Star Wars Masters of the Universe. Star Wars Masters of the Universe, Big Trouble in Little China, and elements in a much superior version of the Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtles, and a great adaptation of Dragon Ball Curse of the Blood Rubies, which is which I've never seen it, but this is the animated movie this adapts, and the early Dragon Ball Saga with elements and scenes that are more reminiscent of Dragon Ball Z. So yes, great live action, what you call it. I still think DBE is cool because it's much more serious and it has more characters you care about. But this, for low budget, this right here was phenomenal right here. The magic begins. So yeah, these were, in my opinion, the greatest Dragon Ball Z sagas, and I told you why each was in its spot. The next video will be the worst sagas. So yeah, you don't want to hear the rest of the music, turn the video off right now.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make hella sure that I don't become you. Have no regrets, yeah, outside of my chest. I'll never forget what it's like to be dead. Been stabbed in the back bed, I'll show you what happens. Pass me the mic and I'll show you with action. I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you could never own. I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you could never own. So fight and die for the things you know you love. Do what you think is right, and your life do what you want. So fight and die for the things you know you love. Do what you think is right, and your life do what you want. So give me all the scars, I'm a human being. Cover them with tattoos so you can't see. Knew it from the start, you had problems with me and the things I could be, I just wish I had seen. I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you can never own. I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show.